Hello and welcome. I'm Rachel from Beads by Verchiel and I'm here at the craft store recording a tutorial for you, taking you through step by step on making the Tree of Life pendant kit, which is available from the craft store. So I'm going to take you through step by step, but first of all, let's show you what you're going to be making. So this is the Tree of Life. And these here are gemstones, and you're going to be doing some wire work on this soldered piece. Now this is a really wonderful project if, for example, you struggle with your hands and you don't want to make the outer loop. The outer loop's already formed for you and it's a very soft wire, and there's 3 colorway options available as well. This one is Amazonite. You also get in the kit your chain, which you'll custom make to your own length. So all of these are included in this kit as well for you. You will need some chain nose pliers, you will need some side cutters, and you'll either need some bent nose pliers or flat nose pliers so that you can actually attach the findings to the end of your chain. Now I have got some wire straighteners, but those are not compulsory. They just help if you get any unnecessary kinks in your wire. The other thing I've got as well is a couple of little seed beads, which just really fill in any little intricate areas that perhaps you can't fill in with the gemstone beads. So let's start. First of all, we've cut a length and all of the relevant lengths are in the kit. We're going to bend that in half, like a bit of a hairpin. And then we're going to pop that through the hole. I'm going to anchor it with my non-dominant hand and then wrap round 2 to 3 times. Now, it doesn't matter if you've got one longer than the other, those will all be trimmed off after. And if you want a tree trunk that is a little bit wider than this one, then just wrap a few more times around the base. So we've added that one and we're going to add 3 in total. So we do the same and we line that up right next to it and repeat the same process. Now try, when you wrap them, try and get them nice and neat together. Try not to wrap them at an angle because otherwise they really won't sit very well together. So on the third one, we pop that around here. So those are all of our wires attached, and now we're going to start the process of actually making the trunk and building up towards the branches. So what we do is we lift that up and push all of those wires towards the top. I'm going to actually pinch the wires together and I'm going to twist those wires, but don't go too crazy with the wires because if you twist them too far up, you won't leave any space to actually get your branches in. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to open these out, ready to form the branches. Now, just something to bear in mind when you are actually making this. You need to make sure that 2 of your top branches are actually relatively centralized so that you can put your jump ring and your chain in there. Now the next stage is to work the branches and add the beads. So I'm going to work 2 branches together and just twist. I'm going to work these 2 branches together, so you don't need more than a couple of millimeter of twist in that. So that's where we're at at the moment. And now we're going to start adding the beads. Now avoid the temptation of adding all the beads and then anchoring it, because quite often you will lose all of your work. So do build it up and anchor it as you go. What I mean by anchoring it is I mean actually attaching it to the sides. So these are gemstone chips. You can work other things with the tree of life, seed beads, other gemstones, crystals. Now, these little seed beads are very handy because they just fill in any tiny gaps. Now what we're going to do is actually secure your non-dominant hand. Let me just show you that, underneath the branch so it doesn't slip. And we're going to wrap that round twice, once or twice. And then we're going to do the next one. Now, because these beads are quite close to the next branch, I'm going to start off with some smaller beads, and that way it will sit much better. So all of these crystal gemstones do actually come in the kit. Now, if you can see, I've just got a very small gap there. So I'm going to fill that with a seed bead. And then if you find it easier, you can always use your pliers to actually wrap that round the sides. Now, don't trim off just yet. I find it easier to do it all at the same time, all at the end. So we're going to do the other side. The other thing as well, if you don't wear many pendants, you can always use this as a bag charm clip as well. Now notice how on one side I wrap this way and on this side I wrap this way. It just helps it to sit better. So we're going to add a few more seed beads. This is a very fine wire that we're working with, and like I say, it's really kind to the hands. So perhaps if you've not done any wire work before, this is an ideal beginner's project. And don't be worried about doing random, because I think if you make something that's totally symmetrical, it doesn't look quite as natural. Nature is, of course, not perfectly symmetrical. So if you perhaps struggle to do slightly random, then just test yourself out a little bit. And believe you me, it really does make a difference to just making it look nice and organic. I think it's always best not to overfill your piece as well. So notice how with this one I'm going to have the two so that I've got room for a ring. It's called a jump ring and it has a slit in the middle, and you open that up with your two jump rings. Now we don't really need too much on the last one because we don't have an awful lot of space left there. If you're not happy with what you've made, providing you haven't trimmed off the sides, you can just undo that branch that you're not comfortable with and just start it again. So there we have our partly completed tree of life. Now what we're going to do to finish off is trim off these branches, and we're going to put some movement into the tree as well, and I'll show you how to do that. Let's just move these out of the way. I'm working with my side cutters. Now, if you've never worked with these before, you want the flat part to go against the wire so that you get it in nice and close. So I lift the wire up and cut in. What I do after that is just get your pliers and just ease that. Make sure, particularly as if it's going to be worn as a pendant, you need to make sure that you don't have any raw edges against your skin, which is why you really need to make sure that all of your wires are kept at the top here. Now I would ease it and tidy it up as you go so you don't forget which one you've done, but just for ease of speed in the demonstration. So that's where we're at now. So we've got all of the bits and pieces trimmed. Now I like to put a little bit of movement in my tree roots. So what I do is I get my pliers in and twist. Now bearing in mind I am doing this upside down, hopefully my hand's not in the way. So just do that as you feel comfortable. I quite like to put a little bit of a kink in the trunk as well, just to give it more of a realistic touch. And then finally, just run your fingers over, make sure that there's no rough edges. We're going to add the jump ring and the chain. Now a jump ring is just a technical term for this particular ring. It has a slit. Hold the slit up at 12 o'clock and open it. Now you want a side action that way, not that way. Let's just move all of these out of the way. Now pop that in between those two centre branches and close that up. I always like to give it a squeeze at the join as well. Cut your chain to the length you'd like. Pop the chain in, and then you just do the same. Normally the clasp goes on the right if you're right-handed, and vice versa if you're left-handed, for ease of comfort. But obviously you do whatever's comfortable for you. Now I've got a little ring that opens on this particular clasp. So I've threaded it through the jump ring on the tree, because once you've got the clasps on, you're going to struggle really to get them on. And then finally, a little ring to secure the other side. Close that up. So there you have your finished pendant, which is all ready to go. And if you want to make it into a bag charm, these bag charms are also available at the end of call, and you can just clip that on so it goes up this way, and you attach the jump ring onto that and have it as a key ring or a bag charm. So that is your tree of life all complete. So thank you so much for joining me. I do hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and see you next time.